whoa, I can't believe that another year has passed. It really is true that as you age, time accelerates and becomes more and more of a blur. It gets hard to even remember what happened in the past 12 months. So, before even more time passes, I want to try and look back and reflect on the past year. I didn't start the year with much enthusiasm, which has been a bit of a trend for me since like 2017. The last time I remember being excited for the new year was in 2020, and we all know how that went. I think at least some of the reason for that is that New Year is in the middle of winter, at the darkest and least exciting time of the year. If it was up to me, I'd have the new year start in March or April, with the beginning of spring, because it's first then that the spark for life returns for me and I get actually inspired for the future. What I really hated a year ago was AI images becoming a thing. Nothing has ever sucked the joy out of creativity for me as much as AI did, and for a time I pondered just abandoning art altogether. It just felt so broken and tainted. Now, after a year has passed, I feel a lot better about all that, and I can see AI images better for the gimmick they are and feel a lot less threatened by them. But I still find them and the whole movement around them incredibly insufferable and annoying. I can't wait to see them go wherever NFTs went. Let's leave them in 2023 and move on. So, for the first few months of the year, I just felt tired, sad, unmotivated, and just sick of everything. I couldn't decide what I should focus on and what was worth working towards, because it felt like there was nowhere I really cared to go. The beginning of the year is quite hard for tiny businesses like mine because sales are way down after Christmas and it's really quiet. I try to tell myself to learn to just enjoy the quiet and take the time to rest without too much stress, but that's hard to do when rent is due at the end of the month. I also find it hard that so much about the start of the year is about goals and becoming more productive and optimizing and outworking yourself and ascending to a higher realm of awakened magnificence. I find all that deeply exhausting. Goal setting doesn't motivate me, it mostly annoys me. Maybe because it always feels like I'm trying to go after the goals I feel should be desirable and important, but they don't excite me. Productivity is something I consistently fail at, and focusing on those things make me pretty miserable. So for the next year, I'm going to try and work with myself instead of against myself. Instead of imposing a direction or a goal just because it seems like a good idea in theory, I want to try and follow my curiosity and excitement instead. For one thing, these are a lot easier paths to follow, and because they are easier, they can get you further ahead. I've noticed that sometimes things only make sense in retrospect, so an interest might seem self-indulgent and time-wasting in the present, but after some time has passed, you might discover that you have effortlessly picked up valuable skills while engaging in something just for fun. Then all of a sudden, you can actually use that skill in your work and benefit from it without trying so hard. On that note, a curiosity that has long tempted me is sewing, and I'm now at a point where I can feel it boil to the point where I might actually give in to it very soon. I've been window shopping for a sewing machine lately, and while my logical brain tells me we have neither the space nor the money or the time for brand new hobbies and projects that will eat up productive time, the excitement to dive into something new is too strong to fight. In the past year, I felt extremely bored every time I had to make new postcards, and that really scares me because cards have been my bread and butter for a few years now, and even though they haven't made me rich or even average, they've been my most successful endeavor yet. And even though I don't have the same excitement for them as I once had, that doesn't mean I want to abandon them completely, but they by themselves are no longer enough. I need something new and fresh and exciting. Last year, what gave me the spark I needed was working on patterns, and this year I'd like to print some of those patterns on fabric and sew something out of them. The year before that, my most exciting project was making my zine or mini book, and that's another type of project I want to do again. I want to work on a book or something similar, and I have just the topic. The main highlight of this year for me has been interrailing through Europe. My boyfriend and I traveled for 2 weeks by train through 7 different countries, and it was quite epic. Since we came back, I've been wanting to make an illustrated travel journal about the trip, and I think that would be one of my main objectives for the next year. This year, I've been learning a lot about myself, which has been quite surprising because I always thought I know myself quite well. And part of what I've learned is that that's true. But over time, I've also forgotten or tried to cover up parts of myself that seemed inconvenient or undesirable. Not so much to myself, but to others. There is a side of me that I used to embrace as a child and teenager, but later on, I've learned to suppress and hide and pretend it's not there, to the point I almost believed it myself. Now I'm rediscovering this side of me and learning to accept it again and to find out how I can work with it instead of against it. This process will probably continue in the years to come and hopefully will lead somewhere nice. So 2023 now feels like a bit of a blur, but let's honor it real quick with a monthly recap of the main highlights. In January, I got my tiny book / zine printed, and seeing it take a physical form was super exciting and made me want to do a lot more of these. In February, I obsessively drew patterns and dreamt about all the ways I could bring them into the real world. I opened a second Etsy shop in March to host all the patterns I designed, but as that obsession died down, so did the idea of the shop. But who knows, maybe they'll make it back. In April, I traveled to Europe by train, which is my favorite type of transport, and I had one, if not the best trips ever, from the flatlands of Denmark and Netherlands all the way down to the Alps, where I wish I could just stay forever. I joined Valbuhaven in May. It's a local community garden and it let me cosplay as a gardener. It gave me all the joys of helping things grow, making the city greener, and supplying my kitchen with fresh herbs and beautiful flower bouquets. In June, I tried riso printing for the first time and loved it. However, I haven't done any since, but I have plans. July was rainy, but I still managed to go on some nature walks with friends and to spend time outside, which is all I wanted to do in July anyway. In August, I indulged in botanical sketching, which I do all the time anyway, but since then I've been enjoying a more realistic approach. September was for designing new cards and posters that I've been procrastinating on all year. October was warm and beautiful, so I escaped into the forest as often as I could. In November, I had my biggest market yet, and it was very exciting and very exhausting. In December, I had cozy time socializing and finally started to feel ready to be more open for friendships again, after a period of being a bit of a hermit, by choice. Thank you everyone who's been around this year. Huge thanks to everyone who have purchased something from my shop. I hope that you or whoever you purchased for has loved the things I made for you. Thanks a lot for helping me pay my bills and allowing me to get closer to my dream of living off my art. I hope the new year would be generous to you and me and everyone everywhere. I hope we all get one where our lives can be stable and safe, where we have time and energy to spend on the things and people we love, and where we feel peaceful and happy and maybe also brave enough to embark on an adventure or two. Hope to see you all in the new year. And until then, have fun.